What is up, RotoGrinders? 2 hours nonstop NBA DFS conversation starts right now. Grinders Live, taking you all the way up to lock for tonight's 7-game NBA DFS slate. Got 7 games with FanDuel and DK. Both are taking you up to the 10:30 game on the East Coast. Myself, Al Murray, Leah handling the first hour and change until we segue to crunch time. Crunch time coming in around 6:15 or so. TJ Zwarych producing, and then going to give some analysis later on as well. I believe it's Noto and Beer. So TJ, I presume, playing host for Noto and Beer. Kyle, don't be alarmed, Kyle. Don't be alarmed.
I'm already alarmed.
You got a goatee.
Look, it's not supposed to be a goatee. It's supposed to.
Oh, head on. I can't see the side.
I'm trying to get the sides to come in, but it's not working. But it's only been about 10 days or so. This is the longest I've ever gone without shaving. So we're just going to see what we can do here.
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you. I have a little brother who has this big beard, and I got to see if I can show him up a little bit, so.
And he's the little brother with the massive beard. Is that there's something to that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's annoying. So I gotta see what we can do here.
Do I sound like I'm underwater? According to the chat, at least one person says I sound kind of funky. Do I sound okay?
No, it was just from the intro music. Sometimes when we come in, the intro music takes over the mic a little bit, but now you're good.
Okay, yeah, I felt like it ran a little long. I was like, is that on a loop or something? What's going on with the music? Somebody's rocking out to the music there in the background. But yeah, we're good to go. A little bit of a hiccup there. I'm waiting for the 5 o'clock injury report to see if anything changes, but probably not. What do we get here? We're getting stuff for Thursday. That doesn't really matter for our purposes. We care about today and today only. Lots of stuff to monitor as far as tonight's 7-gamer. Quickly is questionable for TJ's Raptors, not just quickly being questionable, but Sandro Mamakhelishvili is also questionable. That's pretty meaningful for both those guys if they're out. We'll keep an eye on that. I believe that is a 7 o'clock game, right? I think that's one of the early games. Yes, that is the first game we'll be talking about soon enough. So we will know. If we don't know, Crunch Time's going to know as far as the status of both Mamakhelishvili and quickly. Shed already projects really well. We probably project, I would imagine, even better if we happen to lose quickly. Who else are we monitoring? Oh, 3 games, 3 teams in the back half of a back-to-back. That's Chicago, Denver, and New Orleans, which in part, I guess, is why we're getting back-to-back and travel. Jamal Murray was questionable yesterday. He played through it. He's back on the injury report. Is questionable with an ankle and an illness combination platter. I don't know when we're going to get that news. That game is later on into the slate, 9:30 on the East Coast. So I think that's pretty meaningful as far as Murray. Also, Bruce Brown to a lesser extent, but also matters to some degree. He's questionable for Denver. Other pieces that are worth noting, well, Kawhi Leonard. He's got a big Q tag, and it's the hammer game at the end, taking on the Wizards. Love that matchup. And it's a little tricky as far as trying to set up your lineups and try to figure out all the different paths that could happen. Do you have a general thought on how we're handling this? That's just those are, I think, the 3 biggest pieces as far as injuries, news stuff that can really flip the slate. New Orleans, somewhat surprisingly, the back half of a back-to-back, and none of their, there's no Q tag on Zion. It's just, GTA, Grand Theft Alvarado is out. That's going to be for at least a week or so. Herb's still out, but really nothing new back half for them. I think that's the most important stuff, right? Toronto, Kawhi, and Murray. Does that make sense? Is that what we're kind of looking at as far as the stuff we have our eye on when it comes to injuries?
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling. So I'm kind of treating Murray like closer to doubtful. Maybe I'm wrong here, and I might be a little bit biased too, because in our RotoGrinders fantasy league, it's down to me and Squirrel Patrol in the final 2 survivors. We do a survivor thing, and he's got Jamal Murray. So maybe I'm a little bit biased wanting Jamal Murray to sit. But I do think, logically, when I was doing projections last night, I was sort of kind of thinking that he might, lean towards maybe doubtful or at least highly questionable here. They've been very careful with him. It sounded like the illness was actually more of an issue than the actual ankle, but I think being on the second half of a back-to-back and also the Vegas line here with Dallas actually being favored with no Anthony Davis, I think kind of leads me to thinking that Jamal Murray has at least a really good chance to sit, if not likely to sit at this point.
I saw the same thing, and my ears perked up when I saw Dallas, who they're not very good these days without Davis. I thought the same thing. It is the back half of a back-to-back and travel, so it's kind of tough. That's kind of built in. But I also thought Murray was going to sit, but now I'm kind of 50-50. I don't know. I have no clue. I don't have a strong take. I don't have a strong lean, and it's definitely meaningful if you look at our if-then stuff. Certain players will pop. Pickett is somebody that would look really, really good if we happen to lose Murray. Gordon, he's another guy who I guess he's not on the injury report, right? He's been on there. They've kind of tempered his minutes to some degree, but he would be really good if we happen to lose Murray. Gordon, that is. Okay. Anything else of note that you want to say before we kind of dive in and talk about the 7-gamer?
No, I think that's, obviously Kawhi, and then obviously Bruce Brown also for Denver, and then all the Toronto guys. I think we probably won't get much of that. We might get some news. We've been getting a little bit more early news since the new injury report agenda for the NBA, but we'll see if any of that comes. But for the most part, I think we touched on it all.
You think it's working a little bit better? I guess it's better than it used to be. We can say that.
If I'm being completely transparent, it's made our job on the projection team a little easier because we are getting news a lot earlier. And one thing we're also seeing is a lot more guys being listed probable and doubtful rather than just questionable and kind of leaving it up to more of a guess. So it's certainly made that part easier. So I'll say it's working. I have no complaints so far. I think that there is still some ways that they can go and some things that they could maybe change. But so far the changes I have no issue with.
Yeah, still room for some improvement, but definitely it's better than it used to be for sure. Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Let's dive in. Hey, chat, hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all those things, hit all those buttons to help us keep the old lights on. First game, we did say we're going to talk about Toronto and Indiana, and we're going to do our best if-then conversation. 221 is the total here as far as the Raptors at the Pacers. Toronto is a 1.5-point favorite. Who's in and who's out? Well, this is kind of a big deal, and we don't quite know. The Pacers, we feel pretty confident. We know what's going on there. Ethan Thompson's questionable. It says questionable G League, so I don't know if he's up with the team or not up with the team. I don't think it matters. Mathurin, of course, is out. Isaiah Jackson is out. Toronto, still no RJ Barrett. Sandro Mamakashvili is questionable with his illness. Jakob Poeltl, he's got a back so he can't play, so that's two bigs. They might be down. We've seen CMB really thrive. Colin Murray Boyles has played really well, with getting an opportunity here. Garrett Temple is questionable. I guess that doesn't matter. I hope he feels better, but for our purposes, we don't care. Emmanuel Quickly is questionable. He's got a back as well. How do we feel about the Raptors and the Pacers? Shed looks good as is. How much better does he get if we lose Quickly? Even more ball handling duties. I was looking at the potential assists for Shed because I know you're in the betting prop streets. I haven't seen if you're on this or not, but I was looking at Shed over on assists, couple over on assists today, I bet. Shed and Jones for the Bulls, so the two that I bet. Both those guys be getting a ton of potentials of late. How do we feel about the Raptors? I guess you want to first touch on if Quickly, if Sandro are in, certainly becoming a little bit more interesting if those guys are out.
Yeah, I think Shed and Murray Boyles are the two guys that would obviously look better than if those two are out, but they also already look pretty good as is. So I think it's one of those spots where you can play these guys as is, and then they'll probably only get more popular, but also project as better plays if those guys end up being out. Jamal Shed, he's been really good from a facilitator perspective. I actually, you mentioned the prop market a couple of games ago. I wanted to bet him to lead the game in assists, and nobody would offer that, but they would offer his actual assist line. And I think that's like a little, a little sketchy, maybe a little suspicious work going on there in the markets there. But he's a guy with an extremely high assist ceiling. And I think that would only, he would be he already is a legit double threat as is, with him projecting for, 20 to 30 minutes is probably going to be the range for him, maybe even a little bit more. You take Quickly out of the equation, he's looking like a really solid bet for a triple-double in this one. So I like him quite a bit. Colin Murray Boyles, again, another guy who I bet a few games ago against Charlotte for a double-double. He had like 15 rebounds, didn't get there on points, though. Another guy who looks like a really solid bet for a double-double. As is, if Mamu's out of the equation, probably see a ceiling of like 32, 33 plus minutes maybe. So, he would certainly improve. And then obviously the top two dogs here, Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, both of those guys would also improve. If Mamu is out, we're going to see likely a bit more rebounding potential for Scotty Barnes, which is good. And if Quickly is out, we'll see some more ball handling opportunities go to Ingram, and then maybe a little bit of Barnes as well. So both those guys would certainly get boost as well, which might get a little understated because I think people are going to want to play Shed and Murray Boyles so much to where maybe they forget about these two spend-up options in a really good matchup, by the way, with Pacers being a bottom 10 defense and top 10 in terms of pace. So in a 2.5 point spread. So it should be a close one as well for, max minutes for these guys.
I was looking at the if-then that is set up. I believe you set up the if-then, and you did like the combination of Quickly and Mamu are both out. Yeah, like Barnes, Shed, Ingram, CMB, all would be positive values. All would be projected for at least 32 minutes as a median projection. So I just saw somebody in chat say, definitely fading these first two games, Toronto, Indiana, Cleveland, Philly. And I mean, I wouldn't do that if Quickly and Mamukelashvili are both out. I guess you can do that if that's not the case, but still they project, like we said, they project pretty well. Shed projects pretty well as a cheapie. CMB, we'll have the conversation, and I know you can get him at power forward, but center today is really, really strong. I think center is like the toughest thing to fill out. We'll have that conversation in the slate. It does benefit CMB that you can get him at power forward, but even now we have Zubac. Zubac is out, and all of a sudden Brook Lopez projects pretty well, that's really comfortable. We'd like centers against Washington, and he should play, I don't know, what do we have, 25 minutes or so for Lopez, something like that. He's going to project pretty good. And then Nurkic projects awesome. Embiid, we'll talk about him in a second. He projects really well. He's getting full minutes these days. Center just seems like a really, really tough. DK, I think you're supposed to play two centers. I don't know if you've built anything out just yet as far as lineups and seeing how they look, but I feel like you're going to want two centers. It's like a general thought. In FanDuel, it's really tough because you only get one, obviously. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the stuff that I built or just kind of ran. And, yeah, I'm seeing two centers basically on almost every single DK lineup that I have as far as my quote-unquote optimals. Vooch as well. That Utah-Chicago game should get loose. 240 total, high and tight. But how about the Pacers? Did we talk about the Pacers? I feel like we haven't. They're also playing basketball tonight. Nothing really jumps off the page for Indiana. They're all just kind of priced where they should be. If you want to play Pascal, have at it. Enjoy yourself. I'm not going to besmirch it, not going to discourage it, but I don't think he's a priority, or anybody in the Pacers for that matter is a priority. Would you agree with that? Do you like anybody in Indiana?
I think priority, no. I do think that if it gets to a situation where maybe Mamu and Quickly are out, and I'm really hammering these Toronto guys. And for what it's worth, back to the question of fading this game, I think you made a case this is a tough game to fade, or at least the Toronto guys, because it's either going to be Shed and Murray Boyles as elite value with those two out, or I think there'll be just better plays with less ownership if those two play. Because again, I think they're already strong plays as is. So I'm already likely going to have a good amount of interest in this Toronto side. So if it gets to a spot where I have 2-3 Toronto players, I'll probably increase my interest in one of these top guys, Siakam or Nembhard, just for a little bit of a run back there. Again, like I mentioned, the close spread. And then I guess the one guy popping the most for me is Jay Huff. I think it is difficult to call him a priority because there are a lot of good centers in the slate, but I do think he is a really good tournament play. I think he's very high risk at the very least, because the minutes have been very up and down for these Pacers bigs. But when we see him get the elite run, the 28 plus minutes, which he played last game, he typically is a pretty good permanent guy. So Jay Huff is the guy that I have some interest in from a tournament perspective, especially if I'm getting to a couple of these Toronto guys. But other than that, not a ton of priorities. But I do think Huff's a good tournament play. I think Siakam's is still a pretty high upside play. I think you even make a case for Nembhard here with no Ben Mathurin, but I think he would probably be my third favorite Pacer.
According to the RotoGrinders defense versus archetype matchup tool, post bigs, it's the second best matchup for the Pacers here against Toronto. Jay Huff, we're going to call him a post big here. 1.12 fantasy points per minute. But again, the conundrum is, like you said, the volatility, but sometimes you want to lean into that. But I want to more lean into it when I don't feel great about center on the slate. And I feel pretty good about center on the slate. So,
yeah.
And it's also a 7 o'clock game, which, there are some plays here. but stuff can really open up depending on when news comes out for Denver, for I guess the Clippers. I suppose there's other stuff that may fall later on in the slate, but you try not to any tiebreaker. Tiebreaker goes to the later game, right? But this game does look like it's pretty appealing, so I don't think it's a full fade as suggested there. I think somebody from Toronto gets home. Somebody gets there. Huff's minutes are what? Anywhere between 17 and 28, right? That's the thing. It's just
you can maybe make a case for lower since they brought Tony Bradley back, and I mean he could play 14 minutes. I really wouldn't be all that surprised, but he could also play 30. I would say it's 14 to 30 is his range.
I mean, you do this every single day as far as projecting minutes. Is he one of the bigger conundrums? I guess the Pacers in general, Pacer bigs, just as like a thought process. Well, what are the more annoying spots to try to figure out? Boston, like the fifth guy for Boston, maybe. I don't know what is like what is your least favorite player or team to project? Sacramento. That's probably it.
Yeah, the other day it was the Utah Jazz. They were. I was in Discord. I was fully vocally pissed about the Utah Jazz projection because it was like they ended up starting Svi and Cody Williams, which just didn't work in my brain. So that was the whole thing, and it ended up being Walter Clayton who just didn't play, which was odd because he'd been playing firmly in the rotation. But yeah, the Pacers are certainly annoying, but it's also one of those spots where you just have to project them how they approach it, and then understand that there's a lot of volatility there because there is really no predicting what they can do in game. But they've also been flip-flopping their starters as well, so it's worth noting that it's not a lock that J Huff starts here. Somebody did say, or Greg said he did a deep dive on Huff and he sucks. That's a good deep dive. I like it.
He's stealing Bobby's bit. That's Bobby Gomes' bit. But yeah, that's I mean, he might not be great as far as an actual player, but for our purposes, when he gets run, he could be useful.
Yeah, I have as a 1.02 DraftKings per minute guy. So I mean, it's certainly better than some guys that we're gonna play for sure.
Would it matter for Huff? And again, it's hard to predict. Would it matter if Sandro Mamukelashvili is in or out? Would he benefit from Sandro being in? Kind of a bigger body. I guess it would probably help him if Sandro's in. I think.
I actually don't know because Mamu plays away from the basket a lot because he's such a good shooter. So that might pull him away. But they also will then probably play Mamu and Murray Boyles together at times. So that might force them to need a bigger body like Huff out there more. So I think it could go either way. But it's a good thought for sure.
Yeah, I just don't have the answer on it, but it might depend, and who really knows with the Pacers, like you said, how fluid their lineups happen to be. Anything else here as far as Toronto and the Pacers, or shall we scoot along?
No, let's move along.
Cavs, Philly. This is the first half of the ESPN doubleheader. 235.5 is the total. It's pretty high and it's tight, right? Philadelphia is a 1.5 point favorite versus the Cavaliers. Who's in, who's out for this one? Philly is pretty healthy. They are as healthy as they've been basically all season long. On the injury report is Joel Embiid because he's forever on the injury report, but he's officially probable with his adductor. Paul George also on there with a knee, but he is probable. Kelly Oubre, he's got a knee. He's probable. VJ Edgecombe, he's on there. He's probable. So basically anybody that's in their rotation is expected to be available tonight for Philadelphia. Cleveland, nothing new. Dean Wade has got that knee, so he's not playing. No Max Strus. Again, these teams are fully healthy, basically. Cavaliers, Philadelphia. How are we feeling about the Sixers and the Cavs?
Yeah, I think we just got official, the new injury report came out at 5:15. All those Sixers guys remain probable, so that's good to see at least. They can always do some weird stuff. If it remains the case, I think Embiid is a pretty strong play here. Pretty high total, tight spread. So I think Embiid would probably be my favorite Sixer. I think Paul George is a pretty good price here on DraftKings at 6.6. Maxey is difficult for me to prioritize because at this point, with Embiid playing the minutes that he is, we do see Maxey take a pretty big hit from a usage perspective. And he can still certainly get it done and get there. But I think at this price point, I would just rather play Embiid at a cheaper rate. But I think both are still fine options. I think I would just prefer Embiid at the slightly cheaper salary. And then, like I mentioned, Paul George. Outside of that, probably not getting to anyone else. I do think at some point, Kelly Oubre is probably going to be a decent tournament play with, I mean, at some point he's going to play 35, 36 minutes again. I'm just not willing to bet that it's right now. He did play 34 minutes a couple games ago, but still difficult to project that. So right now it's just Embiid and Paul George for me. On the Cleveland side, I don't have a ton of really significant interest. I do think that Donovan Mitchell's a guy that projects well for me, but there's just a lot of guys in that price range, so it makes it tough to prioritize him there. And then Jared Allen at 6'4" has been a guy that I've been playing quite a bit this year, and I think he's actually a potential candidate to be someone who's underprojected throughout the industry from a minutes perspective. I think we have him at 29, but he's played 32 minutes and 34 minutes in 2 of the last 4 games. So he's had some of those spike games. And I mean, if I was picking a chance for him to spike from a minutes perspective, as long as he can stay out of foul trouble against Embiid, this could be a time where he plays 32, 33 minutes, but the industry is projecting 29, 30, and that's just going to create that, that natural value on him. So Allen at 6'4" is a guy that I do have some interest in.
I would bet over 29 minutes as well. They are trending up for Jared Allen, and that it was for a while, and I understand why that's being projected. For a while, that's what he was getting, like 27, 28, 29. Maybe Dean Wade being out kind of helps. I don't know what the difference is, or maybe Cleveland also has been bad. Maybe they got to push. And speaking of pushing, Embiid playing full minutes, like you said, I think this is a bad plan long term. I'm not rooting for it, but it feels like inevitable. Something's going to happen here to Embiid, right? I don't know why they're playing him so many minutes. They've been playing him he played 40 minutes the other night. I don't remember I think that was an overtime game. It might have been overtime. But he's playing it. Yeah, 36, 31, 25, 40. That was the overtime game against Denver, which is a ridiculous loss at home against whatever is left of Denver. If you watch that game, nobody played for the Nuggets, but they still snuck out of there with the W at 33, 35. It feels like he's playing too many minutes, and we have the history here, and maybe try to get him ready for the playoffs. Whatever doesn't that seem odd? Don't you think you're playing him too much? Maybe that's just me. I feel like he's getting pushed too hard. But
yeah, I mean, it's tough to say because I'm sure they're doing a lot of behind the door, behind closed doors, testing and stuff on his health and whatnot. So. Hopefully they're doing the right thing, but it does feel like maybe they're going a little bit overboard at times, but so far so good, I guess. So hopefully it continues in that direction.
All right. Your favorite play on both sides of this game. Like you mentioned, Maxi's hard to play. I think it's hard to get to Embiid because just centers are so strong. And I like Embiid. We're giving him 16%, 18% ownership right now, and I don't necessarily want to play Brook Lopez, or Lopez projects really well as far as centers. Nurkic is one of my favorite plays in the slate. We'll talk about him in a second. CMB, you can throw a power forward, but he's also another center. I like Claxton at center a little bit. Vuk, you get a piece of Vuk, that Chicago-Utah game. That's my only issue with Embiid is that I don't necessarily love it's just tough because centers you can only play. On FanDuel, you only get one. Yeah. So that's the only hiccup there, but I think he's a good play. It probably doesn't hurt that it's on ESPN. Get a little bit extra as far as commercial breaks, right? You get an extra couple commercial or two here and there. It doesn't seem like much, but you get an extra minute or two a couple times to rest on the bench. I think that's somewhat useful. And that's also why, I didn't think there was a chance he wasn't going to play, but national TV, I think he's going to play. I feel like he's going to play. All those guys are going to play for Philly against Cleveland. Anything else here as far as the 7 o'clock games, or shall we move along?
No, I think we're good.
Utah and the Bulls. This is an 8 o'clock game. We're jumping ahead an hour. I think it's the premier game on the slate for our purposes, for DFS purposes, not for basketball purposes necessarily, but we care about fantasy, and this game is glorious for fantasy. 241.5 is the total. That's the highest total on the board. Chicago is just a 4.5 point favorite here. I want to say this is the back half of a back-to-back for Chicago. It is. This is the front half for Utah. I wrote this stuff down. So, yeah, Utah also plays at Dallas tomorrow, which is really meaningful for losing. And we know Utah doesn't want to win, and that's why Markkanen is sick, I think. I don't know. They're not letting him get his revenge tonight. Sorry, Lori. Cough a couple times for us. Yeah, you can't play. Markkanen is out. Otherwise, nothing really different with you. Oh, yeah, Kevin Love. Kevin Love's out too. So, yeah. 2 of their bigs are out. We're projecting Filipowski to draw the start here alongside George, Steve Michalik, and your favorite Cody Williams, as well as Nurkic. By the way, can I just throw this out? Nurkic ain't playing tomorrow night. How about that? Is that happening? I don't think Nurkic is playing tomorrow night. Just going to throw that out there. I don't think so, but we don't care about tomorrow night just yet. Chicago, Zach Collins is still out with that toe. Josh Giddey's got that hammy. And Julian Phillips, questionable once again. Yeah. Is this a fantasy paradise here, Utah and Chicago?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is like the absolute elite scenario from a matchup perspective for both sides. Both of these teams I have in the top 3 of expected pace, and they're both bottom 5 or 6 in terms of defensive efficiency. So, yeah, it should be a lot of back and forth and a lot of bad defense, which is always good for fantasy production. And obviously with Lauri Markkanen, which is kind of a bummer. I did have his over 25.5 points early, and then moved up to 26.5 before he was ultimately ruled out with the illness. So that was a bummer.
CLV.
Yeah, a little bit. Not as good as the Vooch CLV I had the other night in that Houston game. I took the under 32.5 PRA at Scores and Odds, and it closed at 27.5, which that was one of the most significant moves I've seen with no injury news. So, little Scores and Odds plug there. But
where did it land? Somewhere in the middle?
It landed at 20. It closed at 27.5, or maybe 20.5 on some books. But yeah, it cashed.
No, what did he actually hit? Was I was asking. Yeah, you got to win.
Yeah, I think he finished with 28. So the books were on it at the end there, but 32.5 was a good number to get under on. From a DFS perspective, Filipowski looks fantastic here in the spot. I even when he's been playing alongside Nurkic at times, he's looked pretty good, and I think that they're going to stagger those two. So we're going to see some times where Filipowski has some really strong rebounding rates, and obviously playing alongside Nurkic, he'll still have a solid usage rate. One thing I will note, Keontae George does project really well. I will be curious to see his ownership. Obviously, this is a fantastic spot for him here. 8,200 is not too expensive for him at all. He certainly has a ceiling. But it is worth noting his usage doesn't really spike that much with Lauri Markkanen off the floor. He's just a guy who has like a 28% usage rate on the year, and it stays about the same. So I do think that maybe he will get a little bit over owned, I suppose, but the matchup is so good that I don't think it's necessarily enough to get me off of him here. I think he's still an amazing play. Nurkic I love. For me, it just kind of comes down to if I'm going to play all of these guys or just two of them. I think the way I'm thinking about it right now is it'll probably be George and then one of Nurkic or Filipowski. Right now, I do give the edge to Filipowski just because he's $2,000 cheaper, but Nurk is probably going to have half the ownership. So, Derek's in chat asking if it's okay to play both those guys together. Yeah, I think for sure, because they're going to stagger quite a bit playing those two at the 5. And then also when you get them on the floor together, both of them have still been pretty good. So I think those 3 guys are 3 of the better plays in the slate. On the Chicago side, Kobe White looks fantastic at 5'8". Again, not on a great minutes projection right now because they are being very cautious with him, but they held him out last game. So I feel pretty good about him playing 28 to 30. Maybe he plays a couple more in a close game. But even in a 30-minute projection, even in a 29-minute projection, he looks really good at 5'8". I probably don't get to a lot of Vucevic here just because of the how strong centers are on the slate. Like I think I do prefer Nurkic and Filipowski. And then at 8-1, I think I could probably find the extra 1,200 to get to Embiid, who I do like quite a bit. So a couple other secondary options I like are Modest Buzelis. I think Trey Jones is still a good play, especially if you're not playing Kobe White. I think Trey Jones is a really good tournament play. Obviously, Kobe White's going to have a lot of ownership, but Trey Jones is a really good per-minute player, and I think he's also a good pivot here. But I still would prefer Kobe White, all things considered. Even with that, a little bit of increased ownership here.
My bold call in the survey, I don't know how bold it was. My bold call was that Trey Jones outscores Kobe White.
I like that.
And I think that's a really interesting pivot, like you said, in tournaments. Kobe White, currently right now, this is more of a DK take than a FanDuel take because he's 5'8" on DK. A little bit more expensive, and you don't get that 3-point bonus. Like when he's really cooking, he's hitting threes. You don't get the 3-point bonus on FanDuel. He's 6'5" over there. 24% on FanDuel. We have him at 40% on DK. One of my unofficial rules is, when a player is super, super chalky and they're super reliant on scoring, you're supposed to be under the field. And we're looking at 40% in Kobe White. And he's also a guy that kind of has a minutes limit, right? You mentioned maybe he gets to 31, maybe. But, like, you wouldn't be shocked if he played 28, 29. They kind of baby him. Look, if he's not making his shots, he's done. He's not going to get there any other way. And I'm not saying don't play Kobe White. That's not what I'm saying. I think you hear what I'm saying. Play him in cash games for sure on DK. But I think he's a really interesting way to get different in a game that's going to be super popular. And I like Trey Jones the most. He gets a big assist. His assist rate gets a big boost when Giddey's off the floor. I mentioned earlier that I did bet his assists over. I think he's got a chance to get 10, 11, 12 assists or so. We saw he got loose the other night. He goes last night in 27 minutes or so. And it's, if not Trey, you can play Dosunmu. If not Dosunmu, you can play Herter. Like, you can sort of shuffle through those guys in tournaments. I just think that you're supposed to be under White in tournaments and give you over on Jones, over on Dosunmu, over on Herter. That's just sort of my take on that. And again, I like White plenty. Just if you're telling me he's going to be 41% owned, that seems a little bit too expensive for my liking. And the Nurkic thing, like, you feel like he's supposed to get rug pulled, and he just hasn't been. Like, when they play him, he's played 30 plus minutes in his last 8 games. If you get rid of the 2 games where he was in foul trouble, so just no foul trouble, he's been playing 30 plus minutes. His last 4 games, the form has been spectacular. At least 47.5 DK points per game. And the matchup, we love the matchup here against Vooch. By the way, one of the best nicknames. I don't know how that factors into projections, Kyle, but say he projects for, 41 fantasy points. Now, what if I tell you he's called the Bosnian Beast? What is it, 42, 43? What kind of boost you get with the Bosnian Beast boost? Come on. That's pretty strong, is it not?
That is a good one, I must say. There's a couple of pretty interesting nicknames in this one, because the Bulls, when they tweet out their starting lineup the other night, they tweeted all the nicknames.
Yeah.
Isaac Okoro is Ice, which I think that's pretty good. I've never heard it before, but I thought that was a pretty good one. Jalen Smith, his nickname apparently Sticks. I've never heard that before, and I was like, why is it Sticks? But
got long legs.
That's fair. That makes sense. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Sticks has got long legs. If you've seen him, he's very lanky. Somebody was asking about him in chat. He did start last game, I think, in part. That is because White didn't play. Will they play big here? I mean, we've seen the double big with Sticks and Vuk. I guess Filipowski and Nurkic will be the bigs on the other side. What is the chance, if there is a chance, that we get Smith to start tonight for Chicago? Because if he does, he would project pretty well. Typically, his ceiling is most obtainable when Vuk doesn't play. But I'm curious if Jalen Smith is somebody is worth considering tonight.
I mean, there's a chance that not only does he start, but just maybe sees a few more minutes, just kind of them trying to match up with Filipowski and Nurk, because that's a pretty big duo there. So I wouldn't say it's out of the question that he starts. I would say it's probably pretty unlikely, because they have seemed to like to start Jones and Kobe White, and then obviously Okoro, and then Buzelis and Vooch will always start. But so that's probably not. He's probably not going to start, but he could still play 24, 25 minutes, because we could easily see. We've seen Buzelis lose out on minutes when he's starting. Okoro has lost out on minutes when he's starting. Kobe White and Trey Jones aren't getting pushed from a minutes perspective. So we could easily see a 23, 24 minute game and we just got Mamu and Quickly out. So that'll shift around some things. I will say Jalen Smith was one of the names I wanted to throw out there for tournaments as a really good, like, low owned play. There's another one that I think is just absolutely insane, but I do kind of like him. That's Kyle Anderson. There have just been some games where Kyle Anderson will, like, he won't start. Nobody will be really projecting him for much, and then he'll play 28, 30 minutes. And that's kind of what you want for guys. I mean, obviously you could play him and then he doesn't play much, but if he pops for a 26 plus minute game and he has the volatility, the variance to, play those high upside minute games. And we know that when he does get run, he can play as like a point per minute guy. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it in anything less than like 20 lineups, but I mean, this is the golden, what is it? The holy grail of games tonight. So if we're going to look for a crazy tournament play, you might as well do it in this sort of game, because Cody Williams is probably going to start, and he could start and play 14 minutes. And if that happens, Kyle Anderson's probably going to be a guy that really gets a significant boost there, especially if they're not giving Taylor Hendricks a lot of run. We could easily see like 25 minutes for Kyle Anderson in a game that goes. Obviously, that would have to be like a perfect outcome for him. But if that's the case and he plays 25 minutes, I would not be surprised to see him put up 35 DK points. So he's the random tournament dart play that I like that could maybe win someone a bunch of money in like a large field contest.
There was that game against the Clippers when they had like 8 or 9 players, and like, I had every Jazz player somewhere in one lineup. I did not have Kyle Anderson. I basically everybody went Kyle Anderson, and he went nuts that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, slow-mo. Speaking of nicknames, somebody said Ice Trey, right? Trae Young is they got him on ice there in Washington. They said he's not going to be playing. I guess reevaluated after the All-Star break. Over under number of games that Trae Young plays for Washington this year, 4.5. What do you got? 4.5.
I mean, I think I would take the over, but like that's a really low line. I mean, yeah, it's at this point it's getting kind of sketchy. They've already said they're not going to even evaluate him until after the break. So then you get to a point where I will say maybe they'll get to a point where it's like they feel pretty good about not losing that pick. So maybe they'll want to show their fans some Trae Young. But I think 4.5 is actually a really good line. But I think I would take the slight over.
It could be 0. It could be like 10, right? Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. But it certainly seems like they're disincentivized to play him outside of showing to their fans, hey, look, I know we're Washington, but we got somebody that, it's been an all-star. He can shoot from the logo. It's kind of cool.
Don Easy asked if there's a slow-mo ladder. If the books will give us lines for Kyle Anderson, I will certainly be interested in a ladder there. But I doubt we'll get lines on Kyle Anderson. If we get a prop on Kyle Anderson, he is an even better tournament play because, I mean, obviously these books are so sharp. If we're getting prop lines on a guy like that, that tells me that he's going to be playing some minutes that are at least like Behringer from last night, right? We get the little bit of a hint that he's going to be in the rotation. That could mean 8 minutes. That could mean 15 minutes. He played 30 minutes last game. It was a little bit of a blowout. But when you get props on those kinds of guys, it's actually a pretty significant indicator on some minutes, or at least a real chance for them to be a part of the rotation. So that's one thing that is worth noting, not only for Anderson, but for future, deep bench guys going forward.
Somebody said in chat, I wanted to find it now. Now it's kind of lost because people are talking. Yeah, Hendricks might start over Filipowski. Yeah, it's not 100% certain Filipowski starts, right? Like we have to project somebody. What are the chances Filipowski starts? 80%? What would the number be that you'd put on it?
80 might be a little high. I'm not gonna lie. I would say probably 65, 60 maybe. I mean, it could even be 50, honestly. Like the thing about Utah is they don't give so they could do anything that they want, really, and they don't necessarily need to play somebody who fits the mold as like a 4 here. So they could really, I mean, they could start Sensabaugh again and play Cody Williams at the 4. They could start Hendricks. They could do a lot of different things. They could start Kyle Anderson. They could go back to Ace Bailey. They could really do anything they want. So make sure you confirm that.
And if Filipowski's not starting, how afraid are you of playing him? If at all?
I would probably be a little bit. He'd probably drop like 3 or 4 minutes in projection, and therefore it would come down to how much the ownership indicates that. Like if people are completely off of him, I would have more interest because, again, there's so much volatility in this Utah rotation. So if people are going to be off of a guy who was right now, I have him as the 3rd best play on the slate in my model. So if that's the case where nobody wants to play him anymore and he's like 15%, I would probably like him a little bit more. But if he's down to 23, 24 minutes and he's still 40% projected ownership, I'll probably fade him.
Chat, guess who is 1 and 2 in Kyle's model? Who's 1 and 2 currently? And have we talked about 1 or 2 yet, by chance?
We talked about 1, but that's without me inputting ownership stuff. So it's a guy that we've talked about in this game as a potential fade, as 2, and 1 we have not talked about yet.
So ownership factors into your model that you're talking about?
It does, but I have to. Yeah. So the way the player rating system that I have works is it pretty much factors in everything that I think is important to like judging a player. But I haven't put in ownership yet because it's still kind of early in the day, and I've been today's my off day on projection, so I haven't been as in tune to the ownership yet. So I got to put that in after the show. So right now, I don't have a huge ownership impact. So Kobe White is number 2 right now.
Yeah, I was going to guess it's either White or we talked about a fade. You were talking about potentially fading Nurkic. I was talking about potentially fading White. So I figure it's one of those two.
Yeah.
And one we've yet to discuss, I don't think.
Correct, yeah.
All right.
We touched on him a little bit here and there, but we haven't got to his game yet.
Chat's guessing Brunson. Brunson? I don't think it's Brunson. He's fine, but I don't think it's Brunson.
Yeah.
Okay. I just gave a refresh to lineup HQ. Somebody's asking if RG is down. Yeah, my lineup HQ just got crashed on me. I don't know, if Kyle, if it's contagious, if it's working for you as well or not working for you. Hopefully that will fix itself shortly. But I've lost lineup HQ. Hopefully that'll get fired up soon enough here. But anything else besides what we kind of delved into Utah and Chicago pretty strongly? Anything else that's of note, or shall we move along?
No, I already banged my drum enough for Kyle Anderson and Jalen Smith as tournament play, so I'm good to move on.
Banging it once, some would say, is enough for Kyle Anderson. Yeah,
hey, you just wait. I'm gonna come back to you at 10:30 p.m. with the Slack message, and just like the Craig Porter take from November or whatever.
Man. Okay. I will be thinking of you if Kyle Anderson gets you like a 10-10-10 type line. And I'm still refreshing in lineup HQ. Not quite just, but hopefully. You got anything over there?
I do think we're down right now. Looks like we have a couple of status updates there, but I'm sure our tech guys will be on it ASAP. They're pretty quick with it usually.
Chat saying we're running on dial-up. How dare you?
Someone said running on Verizon. That was a good one.
I thought Verizon was elite. Is Verizon not good anymore? And is that?
I saw something. They have like a 50% US outage right now, which is insane.
I didn't see that. I wasn't aware of it. I'm not aware.
Gotta be on T-Mobile these days.
Is that the way of the future? Billy Bob Thornton told me T-Mobile it used to suck, but it's not so bad these days anymore.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about Brooklyn and New Orleans. 231 is the total here. New Orleans is a 1.5 point favorite, so it's pretty high and it's pretty tight. New Orleans is playing the back half of a back-to-back. Who's in and who's out in this one? This is also an 8:00 game on the East Coast. Alvarado is not playing. No Herb Jones. A little bit surprising. We're not seeing any Zion at all. Not even like a probable tag. He's not in the injury report on a back-to-back. And Yegor Yeoman is back. I did get that name correct. I botched it the other day. He's back for Brooklyn. He's off the injury report. And they're about as healthy as they're going to be. Zaire Williams is out with his illness. He had the fish. But, who knows? Sometimes he doesn't even play if he's in the rotation. But just noting that he is not in or available. How are we feeling about Brooklyn and the Pels?
Yeah, this I think is a pretty good game environment as well. I mean, Brooklyn, for what it's worth, they have been playing a lot slower as of late, and they've been actually playing some better defense. Obviously, I think they have one of the better coaches in the NBA. And he's seeming to get the best out of some of these guys, so that's worth noting. But I think this game does make for a pretty good tournament option. Pace, or the Pelicans play very fast, 11th in pace, bottom 3 or bottom 4 in terms of defensive efficiency. So I think a couple of guys here, we've talked about so many centers already, and there's a couple that we haven't touched on yet, but Claxton I do think is a good tournament play. He's I'm putting him in that Jared Allen bucket, where in that mid 6K range, you should be 15% or lower, maybe 17, 18% for Claxton or Allen, but nonetheless shouldn't be as popular as some of these other guys. Claxton I like quite a bit. MPJ, I think you can always sort of play here as a high upside guy, especially if he's not going to get ownership. The usage is just crazy right now, and he's able to fill up the stat sheet. Also worth noting, it's a really good 3-point matchup. I think the Pelicans are first or second in terms of matchup for 3-pointers allowed. That is right down the alley of Michael Porter Jr. So I like him quite a bit. I mean, if you wanted to play Doyman, you could, I guess, but I don't think it's a great spot for him on the slate. But I do think he's at least a guy who projects better than the 3 or 4% ownership that I'm projecting him right now. But on the other side for the Pelicans, this is more of the less appealing side for me. I just think that we're kind of dealing with a lot of guys being priced up from, when Zion was out. I still think Trey Murphy's a little bit too expensive here. Same with Derek Queen. Sadiq Bey's back here. So he had like a 17, 18% usage rate. So not a huge one in his game back, but just not a super appealing spot for me on the Pelican side. So not a ton of interest in any of the New Orleans guys. If I was going to play anybody, it would be Zion, But at that price, it's just a lot of competition for guys in that range.
Yeah, and also the back half of back-to-back, you figure the minutes will be babied also at least a little bit, possibly. Murphy's been really, really solid of late. You were right, by the way, New Orleans, second best opponent as far as yielding made three-pointers on the season. The tricky part with Porter is just, I know it's just I still can't get over the sticker shock. I know he's paid it off, more than one occasion, but 8-9, it's just so steep. But I get it if you want to play him. The Claxton thing is, can he get the 30 minutes? I don't see what we're projecting as far as minutes, but my guess we're projecting probably like 27, 28.
28, yeah.
There you go. Can he get the 30? If you they kind of baby his minutes a little bit too much for my liking. I guess it's built into the price. 25, 27, 31, 23, 24, 36, 31 before that. So we've seen it. We've seen him get some run. Chat's by the way telling me, TJ's telling me that the dev team is aware of what's going on as far as a lot of HQ. They're doing their best to fire it up and get everything fixed. And I assume Chat and TJ and everybody will let me know when we're good to go. But we're a little bit blind right now on the lineup HQ. Anything else we want to say as far as Brooklyn and the Pelicans, or shall we move along?
I think we're good to move on.
Porter has been linked to Ice Spice today. Are you aware of this? How does that affect the projections? Is that a positive? Is that a negative?
That could honestly, truly go either way. I'll say that. I could see it being a big boost, but I could see that being a big distraction.
As an old, Kyle, I know very little about Ice Spice. I've seen her I think she was in a Dunk commercial with maybe Ben Affleck, I want to say. Those two different commercials. She might have been in the same commercial. I've seen little clips of her, but should I be aware of Ice Spice? What should I be aware of as far as her game? Are you? What can you share with me?
I'm not going to say that on the air of what you should be aware of in terms of her game.
Okay.
She does have very.
I think that's what. Yeah.
She has notorious hair. She has like some curly, auburn orangish hair. So I'll say that to keep it PG.
There you go. Fair enough. All right. So we'll see how that changes. Well, I don't know if it's official or not, but there's speculation that.
Were you going to say we'll see how that shakes out? That would be pretty fitting.
TJ subliminally just putting that in my brain. Okay, let's talk about Denver and Dallas. And it's a 224.5 total. Denver's on the road. It's a back-to-back. And somebody in chat just said, hey, why is Denver a 2.5 point dog? It's what is it? God, what's the NBA insider on ESPN that does the Brian W. What's his name?
Windhorse.
Yeah, It's like, what makes you think? Why is Dallas a 2.5 point favorite in this game? Well, it is a back-to-back for Denver, and Jamal Murray is questionable with a combination platter of an illness and I think a foot. What did they give him?
Ankle, yeah.
Ankle. Yeah, I guess it's part of the foot. We'll see if he plays. I don't know. Stay tuned. It's a 9:30 game, which is pretty tricky for our purposes because when will we know? Probably at some point in the middle of the slate. Somebody probably at some point when I'm talking about the Pick Six show tonight with Rebar and Daigle and TJ talking about the football coming up this weekend. Not just Murray, but Valanciunas, he's out. Joker's obviously still out with that knee. Aaron Gordon is probable on the injury report with his hamstring. Bruce Brown, he is also questionable. And Christian Brown, who came back and was horrendous, now he's back and out once again with his ankle. We're projecting Murray, Pickett, Jones, Watson, and Gordon. Watson, by the way, he's awesome, huh? He's always been like, this is a good defensive player. If only he could just improve his offensive game. Man, he is taking full advantage of late. He stepped up, and whatever salary they're offering, it's not been enough. He's paid it off despite the sticker shock. For Dallas, Anthony Davis continues to be out. He's speaking at Twitter. He's arguing with people on Twitter that, he may or may not be on the block. Allegations are that he's on the block. Supposedly, maybe he could be ready by the time the playoffs hit. And, of course, Dallas aren't. They're not in the playoffs. We'll see how that goes down. Stay tuned on that. But, yeah, no Davis tonight. Musa Cisse is officially questionable. Derek Lively is out. PJ Washington, haven't seen him in a while. He's questionable. Brandon Williams had the fish. He was ill. He's questionable. He's been out for 1 or 2 games with his sickness, so probably back. But also Max Christie. It's going around in Dallas. Max Christie also had the fish. Doubtful Max Christie. So we saw Jaden Hardy. I think it was last game where he started. He wasn't, I guess he was the point guard. I'm doing air quotes. It's really point flag, right? Cooper Flag is essentially the de facto point guard for Dallas. And don't really love the price on FanDuel, but the DK price flag, I think, is an awesome tournament play, if nothing else. Marshall has shown some ceiling too, in the absence of all these key players. How are we feeling about Denver and Dallas? And again, it's a lot of sort of if-then stuff.
Yeah, Max Christie must be really sick because he's missing this game, but he had a massive game last time out against Denver. So I'm feeling that illness is real. I will say the one thing about Cooper Flag, yes, he is running more point, and especially with Nembhard not starting. But with Nembhard getting more minutes, he plays a lot of like true point guard. So we actually see assist rate goes down when Nembhard is getting more minutes. So that's the one thing I will note about Cooper Flag. I bet his under PRA last game.
Oh.
If I had to bet it, I would take the under again in this spot, just because I think his assist rate is inflated and his usage rate is also inflated in the market, in my opinion. Just because, again, when we see Anthony Davis off the floor, he's had a lot of really efficient games, but the volume hasn't been anything absurd, right? His rebounding stuff has been really good. So maybe the points and assists under would be better. So Cooper Flag, obviously this is a good spot here. Denver is bottom 5 defensive team, and that's, with a lot of the season being impacted with obviously Joker. He's not a great defender, but they have to do a lot of weird things with no Joker and no Joval. So their defense, especially against guys who can play in the paint, has been struggling as of late. But for all those reasons, Cooper Flag isn't a priority for me on this slate. And I do think this could also be a pretty ugly game. Obviously 226.5 total. You have to be probably a guy who's on the cheaper end for me to have a lot of interest. If Jamal Murray is out, I'll have a good amount of interest in Watson and Gordon. And then Jalen Pickett, I think, would be a fantastic play. I think there's a world where we see Bruce Brown and Jamal Murray sit and Pickett plays like 40 minutes. So Pickett would be a potential. I know we've seen some questions about ladder options. If those guys are out, we'll see what the Pickett lines are at, but he would certainly be a guy I'd have some interest in laddering. I think last time we saw him get a ton of minutes, he made like 7 threes or something like that. So that was in that Philly overtime game. So Pickett would be a smash play. He is a little bit more expensive, so I think if those guys are in, which I would probably say that's unlikely at this point, in my opinion, he probably isn't that fantastic of a play at 5.3. But if those guys are out, again, I think he truly does have 40-minute upside. But other than that, like if those guys are all in, I don't have a lot of interest in this game at all. I think with PJ Washington potentially returning, Brandon Williams potentially returning, more minutes for Nembhard, I think all those things hurt Cooper Flag, so he would be a fade for me, especially if he's going to get 25% plus ownership. I would rather play PJ Washington than Cooper Flag in this slate. And that's even with the chance that maybe we see Washington only play like 30 to 32 minutes. So I just don't really like Cooper Flag on the slate. And that's been a scary fade at times, but he'd be a guy I would not have a ton of interest in at that price. And then Aaron Gordon, I think he is someone who sees a big rebound boost here with no Joval and no Joker, because he's playing more at the 5 at times. So when we don't see Najee on the floor, obviously Deron Holmes' experiment lasted all about 20 minutes of on-court time. He's no longer really a big part of the rotation at all. I don't even think he played last game. So we're seeing some Aaron Gordon at the 5, which I think is only going to help his rebounding, upside, but also the usage has been phenomenal over the last 3 games. 27, 28, 26.5% usage rate, 11, 10, and 7 rebound opportunities. So Aaron Gordon is double upside. He's a 20-10 guy here in this spot if Jamal Murray is out. So Aaron Gordon would be a smash play for me. And the fact that he's probable, I still think there's a chance he doesn't play like big minutes, but if he plays 29 to 30 minutes, I think he can put up a 20-10 game.
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about Gordon's minutes being tempered somewhat, 30, 31. What about the thought process of just putting Pickett into your lineup and just kind of assuming that Murray is going to sit, or Brown, or obviously Murray's the more important one. Yeah. I guess how much are you willing to just say, screw it, let's put Pickett in? It's not the worst play if Murray and Brown are in. Like Pickett can still get there. He's still fine. Yeah. Just sort of thinking about like putting him in your lineup and building around that and assuming that's going to happen, because there's some good stuff we've already talked about, and maybe all the spots will be claimed by the time the news comes. It could be 8:30, whenever it happens, as far as Murray being ruled out. And we're not sure he's going to be ruled out, but what if that happens? What if it goes that way? you're going to want Pickett. You're really going to want Pickett at 5-3 on DK. Our projection is if Murray and Brown are out, but if both those guys are out, we're giving Pickett 34 minutes and like a 34 median score on FanDuel, 33 on FanDuel, 33 on DK as a median score. I guess what I'm saying is that how good is Pickett if the news goes his way? How is it worth prioritizing just putting him in? And worst case scenario, I guess there's other ways you can kind of deal with the other pieces, but he's still kind of fine, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're okay with risking him, like if you're going to build your lineup as if those two are out and you're okay with risking at least putting yourself in a spot where you have to make a pivot, I mean, like if you really don't like it, maybe you could even pivot to, Brandon Williams if he plays, or maybe Williams is out and Nembhard projects a little bit better. So there are some things you can do even just in this game alone. But yeah, I think Pickett is, if I knew Murray and Bruce Brown were going to play, I wouldn't have interest in Pickett. So that's at least worth mentioning. But if you are like me and like I'm thinking it's like at minimum 60%, I think that Murray sits in this one. I think it's even more than 50-50 just because of the spread. I think it's more than 50% chance that he sits in this one. So I would be okay with building around as long as you're okay with, risking that at least uncomfortable position. But also I think a good way to maybe do it is build with Shed and Kobe White. And depending on how Shed performs, like if he is a good chalk, maybe you could potentially look to, or maybe even the rest of your lineup, look to pivot off of Kobe White to a guy like Pickett, who certainly will come in under own because of those two guys locking before Pickett.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is one of the best low price players at a similar position. Well, Shed's a point guard. Pickett is point guard, shooting guard. But like you said, the White situation, and that's 8:00. And that's typically a lot of it's like at 8:00, you probably get game time decision for Murray. You never really know. You might get actual clarity 90 minutes before. It's tricky to predict how, when that news is going to come, or maybe you get official news at 8:00 right at the bell, but something to be aware of. By the way, the chat, shout out to Tim. I see Tim in the chat talking about last night. We're talking about Peyton Watson, how much he's been great. Tim said he basically just played the optimal, just plugging in Watson for Chet Holmgren and then the RG optimal. And he took down second place last night in the the 100 single entry on DK. Hoosiers Hang Banners took down his first FanDuel small field lineup, a single entry lineup contest last night. So shout out to Hoosiers Hang Banners. And I did see some Ruthless Villain said that he won all the money last night because of Peyton Watson. So shout out to y'all with Peyton Watson. Anything else here, or shall we move along to I think it's the second half, right? Is this New York, Sacramento? Is that the second half of the ESPN doubleheader? Which is the second half of the ESPN doubleheader? No, I have to check and see. I can't imagine it's in Sacramento, but maybe it is. Hold on a second. Now, this is important stuff. Oh, you know what? Denver is the ESPN game. So maybe Murray plays. I don't know. The ESPN certainly would appreciate it. Denver screwed everybody over. Was that a national TV game with Philadelphia before, or was that a different game? Maybe it was a different game. And they sat everybody.
I'm not sure. But that game ended up being really good, so.
It did. On paper, it looked terrible, but Philadelphia, they tend to play down to their competition. That's kind of their stigma for years, it seems like. Blowing a game versus whatever is left. Denver without their top 7 best players, arguably. New York is in Sacramento. Sacramento hoping to light the beam tonight versus New York. 229.5 is the total. It's going to be tough sledding because the Kings stink. They are 11-point dogs tonight at home. Keegan Murray is still out with his ankle. Domantas Sabonis, we have not seen him for a while with his knee. This is the last game for Dennis Schroeder, the Demolition Man. His suspension. He got suspended 3 games for, I don't know, threatening to beat up Luka Doncic. Is that basically what that was?
After the game, he was like, meet me in the parking lot, probably.
The bike rack at 3:00. Huck 40 is questionable for New York. Landry, the ShamWow, he's out, but really New York is really, really healthy. We've seen, speaking of, we don't necessarily, here's a potential pivot. If you don't like Pickett, and if Murray, if everything goes against them as far as the Denver stuff, you can pivot to Malik Monk, who's been getting a lot of minutes of late in the absence of Schroeder. Not comfortable because, he's really super reliant on scoring, but the opportunity should be there at least. Tell me about New York and Sacramento.
Yeah, or even if you could, maneuver your way into, having him in your. Obviously, you do kind of want to play two centers, but maybe you can play a center and then maybe a power forward center in either the power forward slot or the forward slot, and you could save spot for some of these value guys here in this game, and maybe do something like that. You have McBride here as well, who I don't think is a bad play. He's been playing some more minutes. Mitch Robinson is a guy that projects really well for me. I think the ownership is going to be a big factor in terms of if he's going to be popular, which I don't think he's going to get too popular because of all the other plays on the slate. But if he's going to be low owned, he's a guy that I think is a pretty good pivot off of some of the chalk that I think has some holes to be poked in the resumes there. Brunson and Cat, I'm probably not overly interested in. I mean, I think Brunson's fine, but a little bit worried about the potential blowout here. Although the Kings have been playing well as of late, but probably not a side that I'm getting super exposed to other than Mitchell Robinson. And then on the King side, I have no interest in this team. I will say Monk would be probably the best option if you do get stuck holding the Jalen Pickett bag. You need to pivot. In my projections, out of the guards who are after Jalen Pickett and cheaper than him, Malik Monk would be the best option with Miles McBride a close second.
I don't have the projections for RG because still we're trying to figure this out. Lineup HQ, it's down. I assume it's going to get fired up soon enough. Who has more raw points as far as the projection currently? Is it Monk or is it Pickett? It's probably fairly close.
Right now we have
for yours. I guess you have your personal projection.
Yeah, my personal one. Well, I can look at RG 27.8 for Pickett right now, and then 24.7 for Malik Monk. I have Monk at 23.9, and I have Pickett at 23.8. So I'm actually lower on Pickett than the RG projections by quite a wide margin. So that's probably a reason why I am low on him right now. But again, that would obviously change pretty quickly with Murray and Brown being out. I think it also looks like we're maybe hedging a bit with lower minutes on Murray and Bruce Brown, with the likelihood of them having a real chance to sit here.
Yeah. So like Pickett's, I mean, depending on 24, 27 as a raw points projection, that's fine for a 5-3 asking price. But if you feel better about pivoting them up, I suppose you can do that as well. I don't mind Westbrook a little bit in this game. Just, the minutes have been good. The role has been pretty good. It is a revenge game for Mike Brown, right? Very angry Mike Brown. And then Sacramento, the worst Brown organization in basketball. Is there a worse? Tell me if there's somebody else worse. Is it Sacramento? I think it's Sacramento.
Yeah, it's got to be Sacramento. Either Sacramento or Charlotte, maybe.
Yeah,
probably Sacramento though.
They seem to really like Precious Achiuwa sometimes, like more than anybody else. I don't totally get it, but it is a Precious revenge game.
True.
I don't know how, if he's angry at New York in any capacity, but sure. Probably not something I'm getting to, but I presume projects pretty decent. Again, I cannot see the projections currently, but I imagine it's somewhere around 22, 23. How am I close? Let's play the feud. That's not the feud. Let's play Price is Right.
For Precious?
Yeah, 22.3. Am I within a point?
21.5.
I'm within a point.
Shot quality projection, little peek behind the curtain, 23. Shot quality, nice little add-on package for anyone that's interested in that. It's a really good product.
Yeah, I know shot quality is always dropping some stuff in scores and odds as well. Do you have any plays out there for the people? Maybe we can tease them. Maybe we get enough like buttons smacked that we can give the people at least a taste of scores and odds. Any plays you posted today?
I did have a couple that I posted at like 7 in.m. Obviously, one of them was Markkanen. I don't know if any of them have moved. When the people started asking for the ladders, I started running my own prop model, so I'll probably have some at the end of the show as well. But I did have, if I don't find any more new ones, I will have those at least 2 or 3 old ones. But today's been a big golf day for me, so I can also give away a golf pick or two. Yeah,
golf is back. They're playing in Hawaii. Get excited. Yep. And the field is not amazing, right? For some people, like, I'm going to take an extra week or so. But there's some legitimate golfers here.
It's not bad at all. I mean, it's not like we don't have Scotty or Rory or a lot of the big names, but they have. I promise you, there have been worse fields.
Yeah. I did see some golf stuff posted, and those, like, you just got to hit a couple of those, right? And you're basically you're made for the year. But yeah, maybe we can give away a couple of the golf. You have outrights, I assume.
Yeah, I think I have 4 up right now at scores and odds, and then I've also tweeted out a couple like long shot parlays because DraftKings has a boost out there, so I can give out whatever you want, Dean.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I think the people. Well, I don't know. What's the number, TJ? Where are we at as far as likes right now? What's the number we should? What's the threshold? We got to have the people, help us out here. If you're going to give them the goods, you're going to give them a peek behind scores and odds.
We should be easily getting 100 likes.
Okay, so we get to 100. We'll give away.
We should easily be over 100.
Did he say where we're at? I think I talked over.
50, we're at 55 right now.
Oh my gosh, that's insulting.
I just made it 56. Put it on the board.
Let's talk about the last game of the slate. It is Washington and the Clippers. 226.5 is the total. Clippers are pretty big favorites here, 12, 13-point favorites. We don't know about Kawhi. Kawhi is officially questionable. Chris Paul is still in the injury report. He's not with the team. We know he's not going to play basketball tonight, or maybe ever. Zubac is also out with his ankle, which means that Brook Lopez is, popping as at least a fantasy point per minute player that looks really, really good. Bogdanovic still out. DJJ is still out. As far as Washington, we mentioned Trae Young. He's on ice until at least the All-Star break. Cam Whitmore, we've not seen him for a while. Otherwise, Washington is good to go. And I guess how much are we prioritizing, Harden? If we lose Kawhi, do you think Kawhi is going to play? Is this a fake questionable? I know Koulibaly is a tough defender, and if Kawhi is not playing, they'll get the key on him. But still, I imagine he still would get tons of usage for sure, maybe a bunch of assists. But Washington, Clippers, life probably a little bit easier for Sarr as well. Although I guess Lopez might drag him away from the basket, but a little bit easier without Zubac. If you're thinking of somebody on Washington, how are you feeling about the Clippers and the Wizards?
I mean, right now, Harden is my top projected player on the slate, and that's with Kawhi Leonard in. Kawhi Leonard out is like amazing for Harden, obviously for the usage and all that stuff, but also because it could just give this game a little bit of a better chance at staying close. And that could, lead us to seeing 35, 36 plus minutes for James Harden, which I think would be even better. Right now, I think like Harden or Embiid are my priority spend up options. I haven't built any lineups yet, so I have to figure out if I can still get both those guys and not like destroy my lineup elsewhere. But Lippy asked if Zubac is out. Yes, he is officially out. The one thing I'll say about Brook Lopez is he's projecting really well, and he's going to be like very, very popular. I'm really tempted to fade him here in this spot. However, I do think it makes sense if you're playing James Harden to also play Brook Lopez, because I think in a world where Harden has that massive game where he pays off this 9.5 price tag in a big way, it's because the game stays close, and that's the world where Lopez probably doesn't fail too much. I think there's a world where Lopez can fail and play 28 minutes, but I think if we have if Leonard plays and the game blows out really fast and we only get like 23, 24 minutes for Brook Lopez, I still think he can get there. However, if he loses out on minutes, you have Niederhauser behind him at 3K, who's going to have a fifth of the ownership. And I think he's a really, really good tournament play, because any time where Lopez fails, Niederhauser benefits in a big way, because he's going to play maybe not all, but a lot of the non-Lopez minutes. And if the game blows out to where we see more non-Lopez minutes, he's going to continue to benefit there. So Niederhauser, I mean, Lopez is the number one player in my model right now, by the way, but from a game theory perspective,
Lopez is or Harden? I think he's a Harden was.
Lopez. Harden is the top projected scoring player, but the rating system that I have has Lopez as the top play on the board. And that's just because he's such a significant value, but I do kind of like the fade on Lopez tonight. I know it's really risky, but I kind of like it.
What are you projecting him for? I'm going to guess 27 fantasy points.
27.8, yeah.
Oh, look at that! I won the Showcase Showdown again.
But that's on a 28-minute projection. I think there's a lot of downside on that 28 minutes.
I do too. And by the way, when you can't just say Niederhauser. You got to say his full name because the full name is spectacular. Yannick Conan Niederhauser.
That is an elite name.
Yeah, that is spectacular. I don't know a heck of a lot about him. He's not been great fantasy point per minute in like the stuff he's played so far, 0.84 on the season. Usage rate at 15-16%. That's not spectacular either. But you do make the point that if this game does get ugly, if it's a 40-point game, he's out there probably the last, 10 minutes of the game, mopping it up, in addition to the other minutes he's played throughout the game. It's, again, the question is, what does he have to give you with how strong center is on the slate? Even if he gives you like 22, which what is he currently projecting at right now? Like 17-ish?
Yeah, I am at 16.9. Let's see where the
dude.
Are you looking at my sheet right now?
Looking at anything.
I will say the RotoGrinders model likes Yannick Conan Niederhauser even more, 18.2, and it likes Lopez even less. So even with the RotoGrinders projection is looking even more like a fade, or at least a potential entertaining the idea of fading Lopez. But you mentioned Niederhauser's point per minute. When you said 0.84, 0.85, Brook Lopez is also 0.84. So he's also not like an elite per minute guy. So I do think it's risky, but he's going to be very, very popular. I think there's a lot of downside there.
I think if nothing else, and again, it's hard to say this without having access to lineup HQ, but I think Lopez is hitting cash games.
Yeah, 100%.
Even on FanDuel, where you can only play one center, he's hitting cash games. Like, it's probably going to be spitting him out, but I don't know if I love that necessarily. Officially, I'm not playing cash games on FanDuel, so I don't want to advise against that, but I don't know if I love that either. By the way, he's Swiss, this Yannick Conan Niederhauser. So, which I guess maybe you'd guess that if I would country of origin. Yeah, there you go. And is that just his middle name? He's like, you got to go by the Conan. If you have Conan, you got to use it, right? You can't make that silent. I think you're supposed to take advantage of the Conan with a K, by the way, officially.
Yep.
Let's see what else is going on here in the chat. Do you have a plums play? You have a plums play for the people? Who do you fill in the plums tonight?
I certainly can't say Kyle Anderson for this question, so I'm not going to do that. Although I do think he's still. It's really hard to play him, but I think he's just one of those guys I think is going to have a decent game. I think my plums play would probably be trying to think of a non-boring one. I'll go with Mitchell Robinson as a plums play.
Oh, he's another guy that's not going to get played.
Yeah, it gets to a point where it's difficult because with Brook Lopez taking up all this ownership and me like wanting to fade him, there's like three guys who I think make sense: Robinson, Niederhauser, even Jordan Miller, who I do like quite a bit. Actually, Jordan Miller would be my plums play. He's a guy that I like quite a bit because I think with the way things are shaking out right now, he's going to play in a normal game where it doesn't blow out. And if Leonard's out, he'll play even more. And if the game blows out, I think he'll close as well. So I'll change my plums play to Jordan Miller.
What do you have Miller projected at as far as minutes right now? I'm assuming you have Leonard in. So what is he projected to play with Leonard in?
24 minutes with Leonard in.
Okay. And that would jump to like 28, 29?
Maybe even more. Just because, again, I do think that he would close. He's been playing in the blowout scenarios. So maybe even 30, 31. But yeah, I would say 28, 29 might be like a safe median projection, a conservative one.
Yeah, chat's asking about lineup HQ. Apologies. They are working on it. I know a lot of people want to have access to it. I want to have access to it. I know Cal wants to have access to it. So hopefully that will be fired up soon enough so we can use it for, we have 46 minutes until lock. And again, our apologies. They're aware of it and they're doing their best to figure it out. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the notifications. If you hit the like button enough, we'll get to 100, and then Kyle will give you some golf winners. TJ, do you have an update on the like button? Has been tapped enough to give the people at least a tease as far as some outrights for golf this week?
Not yet.
Unbelievable.
We're at 89, and we also have Noto coming in, so I'm sure he'll have some golf takes as well.
Yeah, should mention Notorious and STL Cards did their golf show last night. Basically, from this day going forward, every single Tuesday, you have Noto and Cards talking golf. I'm sure I haven't looked. I saw somebody else. Maybe it was you. I tailed somebody a couple days ago or yesterday. Maybe it was. I don't recall. Time is a flat circle, but somebody else had the stuff posted as far as some outrights. I might have already hit the ones you're going to tell the people, but give them one, Kyle, or one or two if you're feeling generous.
I'll give my longest shot, 80-1. Emiliano Grillo is 80-1. He's not my favorite play, so maybe if we get to 100, I'll give my favorite option. But 80-1, Grillo there, who I almost had last year, but he lost in a playoff when I had him in scores and odds. So it was a massive tease. So maybe you can come through for us here as a makeup.
I've had that a couple of times. Do you hedge? Do you live bet the other side, or is it's sort of dependent upon what the number is and how much you have invested, or I guess how confident you are in the golfer? But sometimes if you're around and you're watching it, because if you're going to get 30-1 or 40-1 or whatever the number happens to be, and you can basically get 50-50 in the other side, I guess you can reason it's smart to hedge. Is that something you do, or is it kind of case by case?
Yeah, definitely, depends on, what numbers are out there and whatnot. But I certainly try to hedge, and I noticed last year, we'll see if they do it again this year, but FanDuel is giving out like a boost token every day. So I would use the Sunday token to try to hedge if that was an option. So yeah, it obviously changes week by week, but yeah, I certainly try to hedge when I can.
Let's bring in Noto, Beer, TJ. It's crunch time right now. Since we're talking about it, Noto, happy golf. Do you want to give the people a winner or two? I assume you have something posted there in scores and odds. We got close to 100. They're gonna get to 100 as we close in on lock 7:00 on the East Coast. And did you have a thought on that, by the way, Noto, as far as hedging, not hedging when it comes to if you have outrights in maybe it's the 16th, 17th hole, maybe we're talking about a tiebreaker. How do you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to hedge, you want to make sure there's only two guys that are live to win, and one of them's your guy and one of them's not. You don't want to hedge when there's 3 or 4 guys in play, and you can run the risk of losing all your money. So I would do that for sure. Historically, I've had to drive across the border to make my bets every week, so I don't really have access to hedge, but maybe I can a little bit now that we got these prediction markets in the streets. So yeah, I don't mind hedging if it's like life-changing money or money that, if it's just for fun, just let it ride. I think you're probably better off that way. But as far as lineup HQ, what's going on here?
They're working on it. Yeah, they're working on it, man. I don't know what to tell you.
I had been touting how SimLabs was working too, so you could check that instead, and it literally just stopped. So it's not a specific RotoGrinders thing. There's multiple sites worldwide caused by partially this Verizon thing that's going on and half of their network being totally out. So it's like a worldwide internet thing happening. But yeah, right now it's not looking so good.
Is this the life of Chuck, TJ? Is this the beginning of the life of Chuck? That's not a good sign. I don't like this.
Might be apocalypse time.
We talked about this in the Pick 6 show. That's a comment for just me and TJ and like the 3 people out there that have also seen the life of Chuck. But all right, myself and Kyle, we're going to step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time. Again, check back 8:00, Pick 6 show. Myself, Rebar, Daigle, 2 of the best in the business, TJ producing. And we're talking about the football, the fun football that's going down this weekend. Otherwise, TJ, it is all yours. It's crunch time.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to RotoGrinders NBA Crunch Time, where I am joined by 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz to talk a little bit about tonight's NBA slate. Now, unfortunately, we are dealing with the site being down, and so we don't have full access to everything we usually have, but we will still be here taking you up to lock, trying to help you get all of your lineup needs. First up, joining me, I got my guy Noto, Derek Farnsworth, Notorious. How you doing?
Yeah, doing good. It's Wednesday. It feels like a Monday or Tuesday. I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore, but doing good. Got some NBA, got some golf tomorrow, got the divisional round this weekend. So life's good as a sports fan.
Joining us as well, we got BeerMakersFan. Beer, how you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, the chat, the site's down. Some things are out of the control. If it's servers, there's obviously bigger issues going on. So that's why we're here to help you out and get you through that. So I'm good. Snowing pretty good here. So good to be indoors here in the fantasy bar and talking some hoops with you guys.
Let's do it. We got a decent little slate. I'm going to leave it mostly to you guys. I can't play today anyways because I'm in Toronto, Ontario, and there is no DFS in Ontario. So luckily, I am just on host and producer duty. Don't have to worry about the DFS side of things because can't play here anyway. So Noto, I will throw it to you, my friend. Why don't you give us a little overview on what we're looking at tonight?
Yeah, so a lot of good spots on the slate. The best game environments, probably the Jazz and Bulls. And then you also have the Jazz missing Markkanen. Kevin Love's out too. And then the Bulls are missing Giddey. So I think that is going to be a good game to stack for both cash games and tournaments. Outside of that, we're still waiting on a lot of injuries in the Dallas and Denver game. PJ Washington, Seesaw, Brandon Williams, Bruce Brown, Jamal Murray, all questionable. And then in the late game, we have Kawhi questionable. So I do like the idea of leaving some spots open, potentially making some moves depending on what happens with those injuries. But yeah, I think it's a fun slate. And I luckily do my rankings for the core plays in like a Google Sheets. So luckily I have all my positional rankings ready and we can go through those if we need to.
There we go. We're good. It wasn't the internet. It was just me. Beer, why don't you, how are you planning on attacking this slate?
Yeah, like Noto said, it's a fun slate. We always talk about kind of the wheelhouse is that 6 to 8 games. So, we get these later games on DraftKings, both pretty big spreads. We got injury news. But I agree that Utah-Chicago game is generally where I've landed, stacked, get a couple pieces from each side of that one. But this looks like a good one. So let's get into it.
We'll start going position by position on DraftKings first. We'll go to FanDuel second. Then we will take your questions. Going to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat at first, the YouTube chat second. YouTube, smash that like button for us. Beer, we will start with you for the point guard position on DraftKings. Who are you going to be prioritizing here?
Yeah, I think Jamal Shed is a priority here. I mean, we know Toronto going to be missing Barrett, going to be missing quickly. He's had a pretty solid role, even with some of those guys healthy. So with both of them out, the quickly news was big there. I think he's one of the best cash game plays that you can have, and I think even in tournaments, I'll keep an eye on the ownership. But he, to me, is a fantastic value play tonight. Trey Jones, another guy I like without Giddey in that Bulls in Utah game. This Denver situation could make things interesting. I mean, if Murray plays, I love him. If not, I think Pickett is certainly one of the best values right there with Shed, and maybe even eclipses him if Murray were to be out as well tonight. So those are my favorites. I like Keontae George kind of in the mid-range of those two. If you can't quite get up to Murray at 10K, I think he's in play. James Harden, playable whether Kawhi plays or not, but if Kawhi's out, he feels like one of the guys you definitely want to pay up for. So you're going to want to leave some room there. Cooper Flag, we have the still the weird point guard eligibility here on DraftKings, but I do like him without Anthony Davis. There's just going to be a lot for all these guys to go around. So there's guys at all different levels. We didn't even talk about Tyrese Maxey, who I like, Russell Westbrook, Jalen Brunson, but the value with Shed and potentially Pickett is the way to go. And then I really like George and Harden kind of under 10K, and Murray, if he's in, I think he's a great play.
Managed to get SimLabs back up. Got it screen shared here on the screen. Hopefully that will mean good news for the next little bit here. Noto, how about you? DraftKings point guard.
Yeah, Beer came prepped. Great breakdown of the position. Agree with pretty much everything he said. Shed's probably a lock and load play for me. And then up top, love Keontae George. He's just been awesome all season. You get that usage boost without Markkanen in that great game environment against the Bulls. Denver situation is certainly something to keep an eye on. If Murray's active, he's a great play. He's had at least 56 fantasy points in 4 straight. If he's out, Pickett's going to be an awesome play. In that same Jazz game, I like Kobe White. The usage rate's been there all season. He's kind of struggled with the shot, but if there's any matchup to get it going, it's against the Jazz. They're dead last in 3-point percentage and 3-pointers allowed per game. So good spot for Kobe White. And then I like the James Harden call. So if you plug him into your lineup, you get that built-in equity. If Kawhi ends up being out against Washington, Zubats is already out, which is a nice boost for Harden. And then if Kawhi's in and you want to play like Towns or Brunson, you can certainly make that swap. You should have that news by the time the Knicks game tips off. So I do like locking in Harden and then kind of making that decision later on this evening. That'll do it for me. I mean, Westbrook like projected a little bit, but I mean, he wouldn't enter my player pool unless I was building 10 or more lineups.
All right, take us a shooting guard.
A lot of the same names. You have Keontae, Jamal Murray, Harden, Shed. The only difference is you have Donovan Mitchell here, always a guy that's viable when he's low owned, at least in tournaments. And then Kevin Huerter, again, the Jazz terrible at defending the 3-point line. So if you want to mix him into your player pool, I don't mind it. But for me, it's Shed, George, Harden, and then the Denver situation.
All right, Beer, how about you?
Yeah, Kobe White really pops tonight. I know there's a minutes limit on him. We have him right around 30 minutes, but this is such an elite environment. Maybe we worry about the ceiling, but he's so cheap at 5,800. So, he can still get you at 6-7x, and you're pretty happy with that, even in 30 minutes. So he'll have some ownership. I don't mind Huerter on the same team. Not as exciting, not as much upside, but a good price on him at 5K. He's a guy that, more so in tournaments, his up and down nature of his performances, not exactly what you're looking for in cash games, but he's cheap enough. If you landed there in cash, even, I don't mind it. Pickett's going to be a priority for me when we get that news. So I'll be keeping an eye on that at 5,300. Trey Johnson, I didn't mention with the point guards, but he is both point guard, shooting guard eligible. I like what I've seen out of him, 5,200. Trae Young's still not there. So he should continue to see some pretty decent minutes there. And then you can risk it. You can go cheap with some of the value. Jordan Miller, Sam Merrill, there's some cheaper shots that you can take. But I think Kobe White should be a priority in your cash games and even in tournaments. I'll probably be aiming to be over the field. I agree on the Mitchell call. I think Trey Murphy's a solid play against Brooklyn and Brandon Ingram as well for Toronto, missing some bodies at 7,600.
No, apologies. I know you guys already talked about this. I was just looking at some stuff, and so apologies if this specifically has been covered. But a lot of questions about Kobe White in the chat, specifically regarding to that 28 to 30 minutes limit they're saying he's going to be on. Is he still your number one shooting guard priority for cash?
I don't know. He's not really the cash type. I think he's more of a tournament play for me, but I certainly think he's fine. The matchup's there, the usage rate, it's at 27% on the season, and you got to think that goes up a little bit with Giddey out. So like 30 minutes against the Jazz is like 40 minutes against most teams.
All right, take us to small forward, Beer.
All right, small forward, some carryover here. Again, I like the Bulls guys. We mentioned Huerter, Desanmu at 57. I think there's a lot of intriguing Bulls pieces tonight. Total over 240 against a bad defense. So you can go a variety of ways with this team. And if everyone's going to pile on Kobe White and Vooch, we'll get to, I think these are some great tournament plays here. Dallas, another team. We'll keep an eye on PJ Washington. If he's in, I like him. Regardless, I really like Najee Marshall. They're just, without AD, they're going to need as much offense as they can get. And the minutes should be there for Najee Marshall. So regardless of PJ Washington, he's one of my favorite plays here tonight. I am a big Michael Porter Jr. fan. Even at a price approaching 9K, he's always going to be in my player pool, especially in the spot against Brooklyn. So I like him. Jordan Miller is an intriguing value, 3,900. Obviously, this one is going to depend on Kawhi being in or out. But if he's out, I think the minutes are going to be there, and this price just won't reflect the new role that he'll have at just 3,900. And then some carryover guys, Cooper Flagg again. Sadiq Bey is somewhat interesting with some of their injuries. Peyton Watson, price is a sticker shock on him, but hard to argue the results. So that one, I think he's in play even with Murray potentially playing, but Murray's out. That 7,700 is probably not even enough on Peyton Watson.
All right, Noto, how about you, small forward?
Yeah, I just realized I was reading off my FanDuel rankings at point guard and shooting guard. I also wanted to add Malik Monk to the point guard shooting guard consideration. They're shorthanded tonight. He's coming off his best game in quite some time. If you remember back last year, he was like 7-8 grand at different points throughout the season. So maybe he's finally getting it going a little bit. But then back to small forward, I like Cooper Flagg. Anytime AD's out, I just think, he becomes a great play. Michael Porter Jr. has been awesome. Even with Cam Thomas back, I'm not too worried about it. He's had 45 or more in 4 of the last 5 games. And Cam Thomas is probably only going to play, minutes in the mid-20s. Love the Peyton Watson call. 42 plus in 5 straight games. And I think Jamal Murray played in 3 of those games. So he's going to get the usage even if Murray plays. And if he doesn't, you get that built-in equity similar to the Harden and Kawhi situation. Klay Thompson, Tim Hardaway, kind of depends on the injuries there. The only other guy Beer mentioned is Najee Marshall. I think he's a good play. And then if Washington's out, it becomes an even better play.
All right, take us to power forward.
Yeah, love Kyle Filipowski. Love's out, Markkanen's out, so I got to think he's going to start at the 4. Great matchup against Chicago. Now that Quickly is out, as well as RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, great matchup against Indy. Think he's one of the better options on the board. If you want to get a little bit different with Denver, Aaron Gordon. I kind of thought that he'd rest on the second half of the back-to-back, but he's expected to play tonight. And then, much like everyone else on Denver, if Jamal Murray's out, he could see a nice boost in usage. Don't really love the position. You have Peyton Watson here as well. You have Booz Ellis, who's had at least 29 fantasy points in 7 straight games. I do like that game environment. He feels a little expensive, but could be a way to get different in tournaments. And then probably going to be fading Zion Williamson. I don't know. It doesn't feel great, but the ceiling just hasn't been there. He's only top 50 fantasy points once in his last 10 games. So a little bit worried about the ceiling for him in tournaments, and I think there are better cash game options tonight.
Beer, how about you? Power forward.
Did you guys see Charles Barkley calling out Zion? If he would just diet, lose some weight, he'd be a star. And Zion's like, bro, Charles Barkley's calling me out? Like, what the hell is that all about? So just funny note there. I still like playing Zion. I agree. I worry about some of the ceiling, but I don't think he's going to have much ownership at all. There's plenty of value. So a nice way to get a little bit different. Filipowski is the best point per dollar play by far, 5,400. He's going to see a lot of ownership in tournaments, but I think that one's justified. Anytime he's gotten opportunity in minutes, he's really taken advantage of it. So he's my favorite. Favorite spend is probably Scotty Barnes. I agree there at 8,500. I like Booz Ellis a lot at 66 in the mid-range. Sadiq Bey, I mentioned earlier, at 58, I think could be very sneaky tonight. And then a few values. CMB, Murray Boyles from Toronto at 5,300 is a guy I like. Price is coming up, but he's been playing well, so I think he gets some extra minutes tonight. And then these Sacramento bigs, I like Precious Achiuwa, who's playing some minutes. This one's a little bit risky, but at only 3,900, if he's going to get 28, 30 minutes. He played 39 minutes recently as well. So I think he could be a good value here at 4,200.
All right, take us over to the center position.
Center, we're loaded up, man. I wish we could cram a lot of these guys in a lineup. So, we already talked about Filipowski. I like Yusuf Nurkic a ton. He's probably my favorite here tonight at 7,300. We had the news with the Clippers, so there's going to be minutes to go around. Brook Lopez will be the guy a lot of people go to at 3,700. Really hard to not like that price on him. I mean, even if he gets you in the 20s, it's going to be solid. So Niederhauser is also a guy that won't garner as much attention. He's all the way down at 3K. If you really want some savings, you really don't believe in Brook Lopez, I think you can go that route. But as far as spends go, I think Vooch is in a great spot against Utah. Joel Embiid, likely under 20% owned here tonight. So he's certainly in play. That's pretty much it for me. There's a lot of options. Really like the Jazz guys. It's some of the value with the Clippers, and then Vooch and Embiid, kind of the spend ups.
Noto, how about you? Center position.
Yep, love the Jazz. Nurkic has just been on a tear. 5 straight games with 45 or more fantasy points. You get that matchup against the Bulls. Same with Filipowski. I had them both tagged before the site went down. So 2 of my core plays tonight. Yeah, Brook Lopez, I don't know. It doesn't feel good, but 26 to 28 minutes against Washington. So at 3,700, yeah, sign me up for that. Probably not going to be on Embiid too much. Not going to be on Cat. I do like the CMB call, especially with Mamu out tonight. I think he's going to be really solid option against the Pacers. And then super large field stuff, Day'Ron Sharp. he's been great. The minutes have been, all over the place, but he can get you 30 plus at really low ownership, especially now that everyone's going to be going to the Clippers for value.
All right, let's go over to FanDuel. Fingers crossed, SimLabs will continue to work as I switch it over to FanDuel here. But we will start with you this time, Noto. FanDuel point guard. Who do you like?
Yeah, this slate's kind of taking me back to where we had to hand build everything. The good old days before DFS was so easy. So yeah, FanDuel, a lot of the same guys that we liked on DraftKings. Love Keontae George. He's probably going to be lower owned on FanDuel because he is a little bit more expensive over there. You have the Denver situation with Murray and Pickett. Again, if you have those roster spots open, you can play Murray, and then if not, you play Pickett and you upgrade one of your other spots. I think that's kind of the way I'm building tonight. You can throw Harden in that mix as well. Jamal Shed, great value with Quickly and Barrett both out. And Kobe White, we talked about him. The usage rate should be there against the Jazz. That's really it for me at point guard.
All right, Beer, FanDuel point guard.
So Murray,
website outage site right now for like internet servers. All of so much of the United States and Europe are just getting cooked. Basically, everywhere else in the world looks fine.
Well, we're still hanging in here, so hopefully we don't end up getting cooked. So the Denver situation's the main one for me. I'm playing Murray if he's in. If not, I am going to Pickett, so I love that. I like having Harden in there. Again, you get that extra bonus if Kawhi is out. He's in a good spot regardless against Washington, so ownership will certainly shoot up if we get that Kawhi news, but 9,300, a good price on him. Keontae George at 84, playable for me on both sites. Playing really well, the best environment on the slate, so I like that. Kobe White shouldn't be as highly owned over here, but is a little bit more expensive at 6,500. So I definitely like the ownership better over here, but like that DraftKings price a little bit more. Shed, of course, is the best value at 46 outside of the Pickett news. I like Westbrook a little bit more, it seems, than Noto tonight. 7,400 here. Not a bad price at all. And then there's value. Guys like Chris Dunn under 5K, Isaiah Collier at 4,800, and Trey Johnson at 5,100 are probably my favorite values outside of the guys that are going to be owned in Shed and potentially Pickett.
All right, take me over to shooting guard.
All right, a lot of the same names here, but we'll try to get some different ones. I do like Donovan Mitchell. If you're spending up, 9,600 for him tonight, showing about 10 to 15% ownership, which is always something I want to take advantage of. Trey Murphy at 8K has really been playing well. That's another game I really like, Brooklyn and New Orleans tonight. So quite a few pieces out of that one I'm looking at. Andrew Nembhard, 7,300. People just don't play this guy, and he's been playing well. So if you can get him under 10%, we'll take advantage of that for sure. Trey Jones at 62, not a bad option. And then Cooper Flagg as well here. 92 is a little more expensive, but should see all the usage that he can handle.
We got Jamison Battle starting in place of Emmanuel Quickly tonight for the Raptors. Either of you guys have any interest there?
I was just looking at his game log. It is not great. I'd probably rather play Elijah Martin myself.
Fair there. Beer, take a shooting guard. Or take a small forward, sorry.
Small forward.
No, do you shooting guard yet?
No, I'll cover it real quickly. Outside of the guys that we've already talked about, it's Harden and Mitchell for the spend ups. Everyone else I pretty much have already covered at point guard, but large field tournaments, Kevin Huerter, again, Jazz are really bad at defending the 3-point line. So if you want to look at him, I don't hate it. And he's a nice little pivot away from Kobe White if you don't want to eat that chalk.
All right, now take us over to small forward, Noto.
All right, we got Scotty Barnes leading the way for me. I think easy click. He can fill up the stat sheet, pace up game against Indy. Barrett's out, Quickly's out, Mamu's out, Pirtle's out, Jacoby Walters out. I mean, they're missing so many guys. You got to think he's going to have a nice game. Also, Brandon Ingram is right there as well. I think you can play them both in the same lineup. I certainly don't do that often during the course of the regular season, but with them being so short-handed, I don't mind it tonight. Then for tournaments, Michael Porter Jr., Peyton Watson. Both of them have been in pretty good form recently. You also have DeMar DeRozan here, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't played DeRozan yet this season. I know he's kind of picking it up lately, but I'm having a tough time getting there tonight.
Beer, how about you, small forward?
It's funny when you said DeRozan, I'm like, man, I don't ever play DeRozan.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those guys I generally don't land on. So
Look, Internet fell. We are back in the year 2018. DeRozan is a great play.
Oh, for sure. 7 years ago. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. We
That
are
was a
going back
stud.
a decade in time with hand building, and therefore the players from a decade ago are good DFS plays too.
All right, there you go. Write it down. DeMar DeRozan, the plums of the night here for TJ. So we'll start with some of the value. We mentioned Herter on DraftKings, playable here at 55. I mentioned Jordan Miller. Keep an eye on that Kawhi news. He's only 3,900 here. As much as I hate to say it, I think Klay Thompson is in play as well at 4,100, especially if PJ Washington were to miss tonight's game. So that's kind of some of the value. I agree on Scotty Barnes being the best play here against Indiana. Michael Porter's right there for me. So those are my top two. If I'm spending up, we have the Washington Najee Marshall situation again. I really like Najee Marshall, especially if Washington's out. But I think he's going to be in play regardless. And no to mention a lot of names. I like Peyton Watson, Buzelis. I think that's it for my pool. Yep, that's pretty much everybody, but really like Scotty Barnes and Michael Porter.
All right, take us over to power forward.
So we'll try to avoid the same names there. Barnes, Porter, DeMar DeRozan, the must play from TJ. So Evan Mobley at 83. I like
Just to be
Filipowski,
clear,
obviously.
for those listening, the DeRozan thing was a joke.
Yes. Yeah. Little disclaimer there. Little disclaimer. So Filipowski, the best value for sure. Other guys that value for me, I like the Aaron Gordon call earlier from Noto. He might get slept on a little bit here tonight. Noah Clowney is only 5,500. I'm getting some hate in the chat for the Precious Achua call, but I do like him tonight at 4,500. And John Collins at 5,900. Kind of one of those, boring type plays, but I like the spot for him tonight against Washington. I think that's the rest are all kind of carryover centers or small forwards. So,
all right, Noto, how about you, power forward?
Have you ever heard the story on how he got the nickname Debo, DeMar DeRozan?
Wasn't it like his something from when he was little? He couldn't say something or something like that?
So he was on the Paul George podcast last year. He said he could like dunk in 6th grade. So he was just like foot taller than everybody. So they called him that after the guy on Friday, which I thought was pretty good. So yeah, he used to like sneak into high school parties when he was like 12 or something. And he would just sit outside the door and anyway, power forward on FanDuel, Filipowski, Scotty Barnes, Aaron Gordon in tournaments. Beer mentioned MPJ, Peyton Watson. I feel like we're just saying the same things over and over again, but yeah, those are my favorite plays there.
All right, take us over to center.
Yeah, so you have CMB. I think he's an interesting tournament play on FanDuel just because it's kind of hard to get more than one. I think he's power forward eligible as well, but I like Filipowski, like Nurkic. Again, the Jazz guys just in such a good spot against Chicago. No Markkanen, no Kevin Love. You can play Brook Lopez too, but I kind of prefer him on DraftKings where you can play two centers. And then just because I'm having a lot of Nurkic, I'm not going to get a lot of Vucevic, Embiid, or Towns tonight.
Beer, how about you? Center position on FanDuel.
Yeah, I agree on the Lopez. 3,700 is nice, but it's nice when you can add another guy in. Going against Embiid, Vooch, Nurk, like he's going to have to deliver some numbers. So I much prefer him on DraftKings, but I could see the rationale. Save some money over here at 3,700. Nurk is my favorite over here as well, 6,800. Really good price for the way he's been playing right now. We mentioned Filipowski. I would use him at power forward and leave that spot open. If I'm spending it, probably on Vooch. It's close for me between Vooch and Embiid, but that 1,400 could go a long way. Some value, if you don't like Precious Achua, you can play Renaud at 5,000. These guys are seeing minutes without Sabonis, so he's in play. Day'Ron Sharp, I think Noto mentioned at 4,800, but with only one, I'm really prioritizing Embiid, Vooch, and Nurk is the main core. And if you want to get off the ownership, you can go to Towns. I don't think he's going to see a ton of ownership, but that's the big three for me. And then Lopez, obviously the value at 37.
All right, we'll start taking some questions here. Going to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first, going to the YouTube chat second. Starting in Discord, Carolina guy wants to know, who are each of your favorite low-owned studs and favorite value for FanDuel? So Beer, will go you first.
Favorite low-owned stud on FanDuel. I don't think Evan Mobley sees a ton of ownership tonight, so he'll be my favorite stud. Is he looking for low-owned value as well?
Just says value overall.
Favorite value overall is probably Jamal Shed for now. It would be Pickett if we get the Jamal Murray news.
Noto, how about you? Same question. And then do you guys where is your lean on Jamal Murray tonight?
I don't think he plays. They've kind of been wanting to rest him, so off of back-to-back, I think he sits.
Yeah, I kind of think so too. But yeah, favorite spend that's going to be lower owned. I'm hoping Harden doesn't end up being too popular because I think he's a good play. Then he becomes a great play if Kawhi's out. I agree with Beer. Jamal Shed's my favorite at value.
All right. On FanDuel, are you okay with playing 4 Toronto Raptors tonight, Noto?
Let's see. So I'm guessing it's going to be Shed, Barnes, Ingram, and CMB. Those are really the only 4 I like. So if it's those 4, yeah, that's fine.
Sliding in a Jameson battle in there.
Yeah, I don't think we need it. So if you play those 4, yes, that's fine.
DKGPP utility position, Beer. You want Kobe White or Kyle Filipowski?
I'm gonna go Filipowski on that one. They're both gonna be pretty highly owned, but I'll go Filipowski.
All right, Noto, straight up, you want Donovan Mitchell or Tyrese Maxey?
Ooh, that's tough. I don't know. Everyone on Philly's healthy for the first time in a long time, so that kind of worries me with all of their studs. So I guess I'll go Donovan Mitchell.
All right, if you want to check out Pick Labs, it's the newest Fantasy Labs feature that lets you scan player props and pick 'em bets in seconds. Everything's broken down for you from from edges to win rates to value. It's clean board showing which plays actually stand out across sportsbook like Underdog and Prize Picks. And when you see something you like, Pick Labs builds the slip and sends it straight to your book of your choice. For a limited time, you can get access through Fantasy Labs DFS subscription. Visit fantasylabs.com/pricing and use code FLEX20 for $20 off your first payment. You'll be wondering how this wasn't a thing already. Beer, who do you got as your slate breaker tonight?
I'm going to say Scotty Barnes is a guy I have a lot of tonight. So, Scotty Barnes.
Noto, how about you? Who's your plums play? Who's your slate breaker? Who do you got?
I'm going to go Nurkic.
All right, Beer, we got a showdown question for you for the Philadelphia game. How do you feel about fading Embiid so that you could play Maxey at MVP with Garland, Mitchell, and George all on the same team?
Fine with it. Yeah, if that's going to open some things up, for sure. Embiid's been great, but Maxey has been just as good or better, so fine with it.
Noto, what are your thoughts on Mikal Bridges tonight?
I mean, I don't think you need to get there, especially with Josh Hart back.
Beer, thoughts on Jalen Smith in a DK GPP popped into the starting lineup last night?
He had a good run, so I think he's shown some solid upside, so I don't mind that at all. He's put some good numbers on the board this year, much more than I was expecting out of Jalen Smith, so I'm fine with it.
All right, let's see. Cooper Flagg or Keontae George, Noto?
I'm going to go Keontae George.
Thoughts on Zach LaVine, Beer?
I worry about the upside. He's kind of hovering around that 30 DraftKings points mark lately. So I don't know. Not for me tonight. A different slate, maybe. I'm just not going there.
FanDuel tournaments, Noto, which of your Jasmine do you want? You want Clayton or Collier?
I'd probably go Collier.
Yeah, definitely my preference of those two as well. Do you think Elijah Martin is viable in a DK large field tournament? Beer?
Viable, sure. Not somebody I'm seeking out.
Is Huff starting for Indiana? Yes, he is. Got that 11 minutes ago. Huff is the starting 5 for Indiana tonight. What are your thoughts on Tyson, Jay Tyson, for the Cavs now that he is a starter tonight, Noto?
Yeah, I don't think it changes his minutes too much, but he's a guy I like to play because he can have some big outings. It's just not on my radar tonight in small field stuff. But hey, we have lineup HQ. It's back.
Adine reporting in chat that he was able to get it working. I'm just going to click it right now, see if it's working for me yet. And it looks like it's moving a little slow, but it is in fact loading right now. So shout out to the team figuring out a way to get that done before lock here. Zion or Siakam straight up on DraftKings?
Who's that one for?
Throw it to you, Noto.
I'll go Zion, even though I'm not playing much of him.
I can't remember which one. I think it was Kyle on the last show who brought him up. What are your thoughts on some slow-mo on DraftKings? Some Kyle Anderson beer?
It's all right. How long has this guy been in the league? I mean, this is...
I feel like he was a young rook with like Tim Duncan on the Spurs. You know what I mean? Like he's been around.
I don't know how many minutes are going to be there for him, so I'm not landing there.
How do we feel about Alex Sarr against the Clippers tonight, Noto?
He's always a guy you can mix in if you're building multiple lineups, but I'm not getting to any of them.
All right. Dean says it definitely wasn't him playing slow-mo. Yeah, it was Kyle. Brought up a good point that he just has very volatile minutes. They've sometimes been throwing him out there for like 28, 30 minutes. And so if that happens, he probably ends up being a good tournament play. If it doesn't, he won't be. So lots of volatility, low floor, but somewhat interesting from a ceiling perspective. DK, large field, Kawhi or Michael Porter, beer?
I'm an MPJ guy, so I'll go that route.
What are your thoughts on Brook Lopez as a cash option on FanDuel, Noto?
Yeah, I like him.
All right. Noto, is there any player you are afraid of being underweight to the field tonight?
Let's see. I'm not getting to Zion, not getting to Embiid, not getting to Vucevic. So I'd go with those three, I guess.
Beer, how about you?
Trying to look through my exposures here. Probably Jalen Brunson. I don't have as much tonight. Zion, I do like. I have some, but not a ton. So those are probably the main two for me.
For beer, if Murray is out, which side do you like more, Pickett and Eric Gordon or Monk and Peyton Watson?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
First set.
Yeah, they said, we don't want Noto. We want beer for this question from Test 23. Noto, I'll throw this one to you, though. FanDuel GPP, are you trying to play Shed at point guard or shooting guard?
Either way. But shooting guard's always tougher to fill, so I'd probably throw him at shooting guard.
Is it me or like it never used to have so much flexibility? Like it seems like every guy's got two positions at least. Some have more. Like
DraftKings, I think, has less flexibility.
DraftKings less.
Ever had.
Absolutely.
FanDuel way more than they've ever had.
Yeah.
Like FanDuel, just every single player that they seem to be giving double eligibility to, at least in this spot.
Like when we talk point guard, it's like then you have all the same guys at shooting guard. So it doesn't really matter anymore. There used to be an edge to it. I prefer trying to get as many point guards in my lineup. So to answer his question, I go shooting guard, but a lot of those guys have that double eligibility.
FanDuel GPP, Noto, would you play Mobley and Mitchell together?
Probably not on this slate. I think I'd probably make a max of one. And as Mr. Relevant in the chat pointed out, lineup HQ is up, but it's not updated. So be careful when you're sorting through projections and build lineups.
All right. Noto, do you think Hardy, and this one just for Noto, they said, screw you, Beer. We only want Noto. Noto, do you think Hardy will be viable if Brandon Williams is out?
I mean, he's a guy like DFS favorite. When he gets starts, he puts up some big fantasy points, and he did start the other night. So I think he could be interesting for sure.
I had a sweat with him. I thought I was going to take down a tournament, and then he just didn't play in the fourth quarter. I was so upset. But if he is a starter, I would say definitely viable. If not, probably not going to want to get there. FanDuel GPP, I'm playing 3 Toronto guys. Do I need an indie running back? If so, who, Beer?
I don't know if you necessarily need one. I probably would. I really like Nemhard. I think Siakam's in play as well, and not really much interest beyond that. So I'll say Nemhard if you're going to stack it up a little bit.
As of 2 minutes ago, the RotoGrinders projections have been updated. So hit a refresh, or about a minute and a half ago. So hit a refresh, and we do, in fact, have the new projection source in there updated for all the news. Favorite punt at the utility position, 3,200 or less, Noto. So dumpster diving, cheap.
I just refreshed lineup HQ, and now I'm getting the spinning wheel. So I don't even know who's down there.
Jamison Battle starting for the Raptors, maybe the option. Or
Niederhauser, maybe.
Niederhauser, baby.
Niederhauser for the Clippers. Other guy that looks viable there. Also Elijah Martin projecting decently. 3K flat. He's projecting for almost 19 fantasy points. So I'd say Martin or Niederhauser. 2 guys you're looking at there. DK Cash, 4 Raptors or 3? Beer?
I mean, that's, tomato in that one. I would say 3, but if you told me you're playing 4, I'm not going to tell you you're doing it wrong.
With Paul George's resurgence, Noto, do you think that makes Edgecombe too expensive?
Yeah, with Oubre back, they're just too healthy for me.
All right. Kobe White, cash or no for DK, Beer?
Yeah, I think you can play him. I don't think Noto's as high on him in cash, but it's such a good price at 5,800. So even with a minutes limit in that matchup, I think he'll be fine. I worry about the ceiling on him in tournaments.
DK Cash, Noto.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say quite a few questions, only a minute left to lock. So I'm just going to try and rifle through these quick. Ingram Claxton or Keontae or he switched it. Harden and Nurk or Keontae and Barnes for DK Cash, Noto?
Number 2.
Can you play Embiid and Lopez in the same lineup? Yeah, no problem with that.
Yes.
Popping over back to the YouTube chat here. Hit all of the ones from RotoGrinders. Best DK GPP play, Noto, 8K and up.
Let's go Keontae George.
Beer, who's your favorite cheapie and who is your beast of the night?
Beast of the night is Scotty Barnes. I really like. And my favorite cheapie for now is Shed. It'll be Jalen Pickett if Murray's out.
And I think it was interesting point brought up in chat right now. Just don't play any 7 p.m. games other than the Raptors. Other than the Raptors, just don't play Indiana. Don't play Cleveland. Don't play Philadelphia unless you want to play a touch of them because they look okay like Embiid. But just limit as much as you can from that 7 p.m. games. Give yourself a lot of time to be able to build with the updated projections. Najee or Kobe White, DK GPP, Noto?
I'm going to go Kobe White.
All right. We are about 20 seconds away from lock. We have hit all of the questions, I'm pretty sure. Oh, what are your thoughts on Sensabaugh for tournaments, Beer?
He's all right. That's a Noto question. That's his boy.
True. Sensabaugh, one of your Jasmine, Noto. What do you like? Do you like him tonight?
So he sees huge usage and fantasy point per minute boost without marketing. So I kind of do like that one.
There you go. Najee or PJ Washington if Washington were to play tonight, Beer?
I like Najee. Even in that Kobe White question, I think in a tournament, I like Najee. So
I can't imagine Washington ends up playing. They were like, he's going to be out another week. And then the very next game, they were like, questionable. I don't buy it. I think it's a fake questionable, unless that first report was just totally wrong. That'll do it for all the questions, except for one final one here. What's your lean on Kawhi? Do you think he sits or plays, Noto?
I don't know. I'm hoping he sits, so I'll say he sits.
FanDuel GPP beer, you want Nurk or do you want Lopez?
Nurk.
That'll do it for all the questions. Good luck, everybody. Apologies. We were dealing with the site being down for a while. If you're still struggling, reach out to the RotoGrinders support because none of us are behind the scenes, guys. So reach out to RotoGrinders support if you are still having any type of issues. Good luck in all your contests and stay tuned because we got the NFL Pick 6 show an hour from now. Dean, Rich Rebar, John Daigle, and then myself and Rob will be joining for the movie section at the end. That starts just an hour from now. What do you got as one more question here before we get out of here, Noto? You want Colin Murray Boyles or flip?
That's tough. It's locked already, so I would say flip Filipowski, but it's not going to matter what I say.
Fair enough. That'll do it. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in for today's slate. On behalf of myself, Noto, and Beer, we'll see you next time.